You're listening to WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia, home of Braves Country with Mac Magee and the Armchair Quarterbacks, weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern, right here on The Key and YouTube.com at Braves Country.
Tom has been a teacher for over 40 years. One day, I think one of the students had asked the question and he didn't remember the answer. I also noticed that he was letting his class out earlier than they were supposed to let out. I was really starting to worry.
Levi and I talked about how it would change our lives, but he was there beside me.
When something feels different, it could be Alzheimer's. Now is the time to talk. Visit alz.org/ourstories to learn more. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Hey folks, this is Mark White with The Mark White Show, and you can tune into The Mark White Show every Saturday from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. right here on Rock 99, WQEE The Key, the home of Southern sports and talk.
Are you looking for a reliable dental practice that not only cares about your teeth, but is friendly to work with? How about one that offers great deals and new patient promotions? Well, your search is over. Most Valuable Smiles in downtown Eatonton, Georgia is committed to giving you the biggest and brightest smile. Right now, get a $99 new patient special, including x-rays and exam. Maybe you're looking for veneers. Most Valuable Smiles veneer special includes one free veneer with every 5 purchased. Or get that bright white smile you've always wanted by taking advantage of an exclusive $100 off Zoom whitening treatment when you book today. And don't forget that 2022 is almost over. That means most insurance policies will reset by the new year, and to avoid losing that extra money, you need to use it or lose it. Book an appointment today with Most Valuable Smiles in downtown Eatonton to lock in these exclusive deals. Call 706-623-0318 or visit mostvaluablesmiles.com.
Enjoy sun-drenched days, epic stays, and plenty of room to roam in Greater Fort Lauderdale. Our hotels, attractions, and restaurants have taken the Visit Lauderdale's Safe and Clean pledge, so you can relax and explore with confidence. When you're ready for that well-deserved staycation, our 23 miles of golden beaches await. Find wide-open spaces to hike, bike, kayak, and paddleboard. Visit your favorite attractions, then dine out in style in dining rooms or al fresco on waterfront patios. Learn more at sunny.org.
It all starts with just one thing. When recycling, rinse out jars and cans, and avoid recycling wax paper or paper soiled with food. This will reduce recycling contamination. Find tips and more at onethingus.com. What's your one thing?
Hey sports fans, The Key has a brand new show. Braves Country is coming your way weekdays 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern. Drive time on WQEE. Braves Country is a Southern sports talk show with Mac Magee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. We'll be talking the Atlanta Braves and Major League Baseball, along with everything important to sports fans in Braves Country. The SEC, ACC, Big Ten, and the National Football League, and the big sports news of the day. That's Braves Country with Mac Magee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. Weekdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. right here on WQEE The Key, 99.1 FM, and simulcasting on youtube.com/at Braves Country.
At Shell, we know from the time you get up to the time you wrap up,
good night,
there's a lot of meetups, eat-ups, and hurry-ups. So come to Shell and get 3 things done at once. Fill up with Shell V-Power Nitro Plus to help keep your engine running like new. Save up with the Fuel Rewards program and never pay full price for gas again. And snack up with in-store rewards to save even more at the pump. Make the most of the stop you need to make with Shell and engines that continuously use Shell V-Power Nitro Plus premium gasoline. See full terms and conditions at fuelrewards.com.
That's the sound of NyQuil Severe hard at work. NyQuil Severe is the best sleep with a cold medicine. No tossing and turning, just rest and recovery. So you're ready to take on tomorrow. For powerful relief of your worst cold and flu symptoms, try NyQuil Severe. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, best sleep with a cold medicine. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Hey Braves fans, thank you for listening to Braves Country Baseball. Hi, I'm Mac Magee, and we are here to bring you play-by-play, pitch-by-pitch of your Atlanta Braves and bringing you spring training and 2 to 3 games a week all season long. Please like and subscribe today. Braves Country Baseball.
Winter is the perfect time to start planning for your healthy, pest-free spring lawn with True Green, America's #1 lawn care company. True Green's science-based approach and local expertise will help give your lawn the year-round care it needs to be thick and weed-free. Go to truegreen.com. Just call 866-946-5956 or go to truegreen.com today and get a lawn to be proud of.
Hey, sports fans, it's Rod Peterson here, host of The Rod Peterson Show, inviting you to join us daily for 2 hours of Atlanta's funnest sports talk right here on WQEE. I say fun because it is. You've never heard a show like it because we make the listeners a part of the show every day between noon and 2 p.m. Eastern. You'll hear plenty of the best sports talk, including the latest on the Falcons, the Braves, and more. And who knows, you might even hear you. That's the Rod Peterson Show, daily at noon, right here on WQEE 99.1 FM.
It's the best in sports and entertainment, and get locked in and locked down with Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. with your host, me, Ryan O'Neill, each and every morning, right here with the best in sports and entertainment, all the way from professional sports to college sports to River Dragons hockey and everything in between, including some of the very best local and national guests. It's the Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Fridays, right here on 99.1 FM WQEE.
Hey, sports fans. Weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern. Drive time on WQEE. Braves Country is a Southern sports talk show with Mac Magee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. That's Braves Country with Mac Magee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. Weekdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. right here on WQEE 99.1 FM. You're listening to WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia.
Armchair. You're listening to the Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Radio, #1 sports station.
Good afternoon, and this is your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. We've got a full slate of Major League Baseball here on Tuesday evening. First and foremost, your Atlanta Braves are at home against the Boston Red Sox, 7:20 first pitch. Nick Pivetta, Charlie Morton going head-to-head. The rest of the slate looks like this. Mets and Reds added early, 6:40 Eastern, Max Scherzer versus Luke Weaver. And the Phillies and Blue Jays at 6:40 as well, Aaron Nola versus Alek Manoah. The Miami Marlins are out in Arizona to play the Diamondbacks at 9:40, Luzardo versus Brandon Pfaadt. Washington Nationals, 9:45 at San Fran, Patrick Corbin versus Logan Webb. Games outside the NL East, Tigers and Guardians, 6:10 first pitch. Lorenzen and Shane Bieber doing battle. At 6:35, the Rays and Orioles are back at it again. Zach Eflin versus Rodriguez. 1-0 with a 5.46 ERA. Rockies and Pirates, Pittsburgh's calling up Luis Ortiz. Young right-hander, came up a little bit last year and had some struggles. One of the top prospects in all of Major League Baseball. He'll go up against Seabold with a 5.3 ERA. A's and Yankees, Schmidt goes to the mound for New York. That game is at 7:05. At 7:40, White Sox and Royals, Lyles versus Giolito. The Dodgers and Brewers are at it again. Syndergaard versus Eric Lauer. Twins at home, Varland versus Waka. Cardinals and Cubs, they renewed their rivalry again tonight. Flaherty on the mound versus Tyon. And the Astros and Angels, Valdez versus Shohei Ohtani. Should be heck of a showdown out in Anaheim. Rangers and Mariners at 9:40, Heaney versus Kirby. And the NBA playoffs are back at it. A doubleheader on TNT. Philadelphia 76ers are at the Boston Celtics, Game 5. 7:30 is your tip. The Celtics are favored by 7.5. The over-under is 213. The Suns and Nuggets, another Game 5. Both these series tied at 2 apiece. That game is in Denver, 10 o'clock Eastern. The Nuggets, 6-point favorite, 227.5 is your over. And in the NHL, you got a doubleheader on the 4-letter network. Hurricanes and Devils at 7. Stars are at the Kraken at 9:30. New Jersey is a -160. Dallas a -140 on the money line. Bad news out of Atlanta. Max Fried is back on the injured list. With an ailment, that will sideline him much longer than the groin strain he suffered on opening day. Fried was placed on the IL Tuesday with a left forearm strain, and Atlanta recalled lefty Danny Young from AAA Gwinnett. It's too early to know how long he'll be out of the Braves rotation, but because he will be shut down from throwing for at least a couple of weeks, he will need at least a month to build himself back up after he is cleared to begin throwing again. The Braves own the National League's best record, and they are finally healthy from a position player standpoint, but their injured list now includes Max Fried, who finished second in last year's NL Cy Young balloting. Kyle Wright, who was the MLB's only 20-game winner last year. Fried underwent an MRI Monday afternoon. Forearm discomfort can sometimes be associated with an elbow injury, but the images created no concern about the left-hander's elbow. The 29-year-old hurler underwent Tommy John in 2014 when he was the top prospect in the Padres system. And that's your Armchair Quarterback Sports Flash. Stay tuned for Braves Country right here on WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Newnan, Georgia, simulcasting on youtube.com at Braves Country.
Armchair.
There's something kind of about a kid that's never played baseball.
We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, and flat out deceived.
Why did you get so drunk?
You got drunk. I'm just really exhausted.
What's in that cup?
Rum and Cokes?
Do you have any idea how important this is? We're trying to save the pub cup. Really? This is what you're doing? This is what you're doing?
Chief, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night. Try to take over the world.
106 miles to Chicago. We got a full tank of gas, half a pack of cigarettes. It's dark, and we're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
Armchair.
YouTube Live.
Radio station.
The radio station you can call your own. Do you know what listeners like about our station?
I like everything. It's always on my radio. We never stop the music, except for now, when I talk.
You're listening to Braves Country with Mac Magee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. We're here live weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern, WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key, and simulcasting on youtube.com/@Braves Country. Your first choice for Southern sports. Good afternoon. I'm Mac Magee, and I don't know much, but I know one thing. Dude, what in the world is going on in West Virginia?
Armchair.
Community Access Channel.
He's the armchair quarterback. He's full of beer and he's full of snacks. The all-American man.
Yeah, howdy, hi, and how the hell are you? I am great. I am ready for game number one, Braves versus Red Sox, 7:20 first pitch right here on Braves Country HD. We'll have game one and game two tomorrow night. Tones is going to join us for color commentary. Tonight, it'll be solo job here as the Braves are going to be welcoming in the Boston Red Sox. Are actually playing pretty good baseball. We'll get into that in a little bit. And couple other things going on. You know, you got the NBA playoffs going on, two big game fives tonight in Boston and in Denver. But what in the world is Bob Huggins doing? West Virginia men's basketball coach. So he's gone out and issued an apology, but okay, but how far do apologies go? For those that might have missed this, he was on air, and I don't know the name of this show. I'm trying to find it. Here it is, News Radio 700 WLW. Huggins was being asked about his former in-city rival with Xavier. Bob Huggins coached at Cincinnati until 2005, I believe it was. Yeah, 2005. And he famously got in trouble there. He was all boozed up, and they caught him on tape. And long story short, There's a drinking and driving incident, and there's a couple other things. And long story short, he got fired, and then he went to West Virginia, where he's had a pretty good career. And for whatever reason, he goes on to this radio station and starts slamming Xavier. And without getting into the whole thing, he starts basically making some homophobic remarks. And the thing was, he said it twice. He doubled down on it. Now, the thing is, everyone's kind of familiar with Bob Huggins and him hitting the sauce. Whether or not he was on the sauce or not, I don't know. But he used the homophobic slur, the F word, okay? And he did it twice in back-to-back sentences. He's making a reference. I don't even know what in the world he's talking about. Something about them throwing rubber penises onto the floor. I don't know if that was something that happened as a, I could definitely see a school's fan base, especially if it were the kids going to the school, doing that as a joke. I'm not sure what that was about, but he fired these shots, and it's like, okay, so he comes out. Now, what time did that happen? That happened, I think midday was the show. And then at 5:30 that afternoon, he apologized. But once again, I don't know how he survives this. I believe he's 69 years old is what I heard today. I don't know how in the world he survives this, because in today's age, to do that and then to double down on it, I mean, it was not something that he said and realized he screwed up and shut his mouth. He doubled down on it, said it twice. It just really makes you wonder if West Virginia is going to want Bob Huggins to represent their school going forward. There's going to be some backlash. There's got to be backlash. Anytime you talk about something like this, especially with a school, they're not just their fan base, but also the kids going to the school. I can't imagine he survives this. And he's coached at Akron. He coached at Kansas State, Cincinnati, and of course he's been at West Virginia for over 15 years. And he's actually turned them into a pretty good basketball program. He's a heck of a basketball coach. No one's doubting that. But this is just a very, very odd story. The other news for today, probably heard it in the Sports Flash. Max Fried is going on the IL, and this one looks bad. We'll get into that here in 1 second as we do the Braves preview, but it's not going to be another 10-day type deal. We're talking about much longer than that, and we'll get into all that here in a second. I do want to hit the couple of games that you've got going on in the NBA real quick. Just get the point spreads out there. You got a couple of pivotal game fives. Celtics and Nuggets are both at home tonight. Suns and Sixers on the road. Sixers and Celtics tied at 2. Suns and Nuggets tied at 2. Now, the difference between the early game and the late game is the Celtics and Sixers have both won on each other's floor. The Suns and Nuggets series, they both have held serve. And what is the old saying? A series doesn't become a series until someone loses on their home court. These are huge games for both teams. I do suspect Boston's going to win tonight. I think the Nuggets are probably going to win tonight. If in your heart of hearts you think one of these teams is going to pull the upset and win the series, because they still have to go back for a game 6 in Philly and a game 6 in Phoenix, right? If you think that one of these teams is going to go home, win that game, and then force a game 7, have a chance to win it all, don't bet on the series now. Wait until after the game is played tonight. Wait till after the game is played tonight. You're going to get much better odds. So, like, let's say if you think the Sixers are going to win in Philly, then you're sitting there going, hey, anything could happen in a Game 7. Wait until the Celtics beat them tonight. I do believe that's going to happen. And then you're going to get much better odds. I still think Boston's going to find a way to win this series. I believe the Nuggets are going to find a way to win that series. I know I was kind of in the minority when that started, but I'm not seeing anything from the Suns that really tells me that they're better than the Nuggets. The Nuggets have played them toe-to-toe on their home court. Suns not so much. Suns have gotten blown out in Denver. And the Sixers, they snuck up on the Celtics in Game 1 and give them credit. You could argue the Celtics probably should have won Game 4. And so you're sitting there now with of the two series, I think the much better chance of the upset, honestly, is probably Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia's got a better chance of upsetting the Celtics than I do the Suns and the Nuggets, because they're not suspending Jokic for the run-in with the owner, if you saw that, which I don't think they should. I think the whole thing was silly. Suns and Nuggets, Game 5, that's going to be a fun one if you can stay up that late. Most of us can't. And then, of course, if you missed it last night, the Lakers. How about the Lakers taking it to the Warriors? They're up 3-1. The Warriors are about to get – the Dubs about to get L'd. They are down 3-1. Now, 2 of the next 3 would be in Golden State. But they don't look like a team that can knock out the Lakers. And the Lakers are drinking the fountain of youth right now. Heat once again just take it to the Knicks, and that series is all but over. Of those, obviously you like the Warriors' chance of coming back in that series as opposed to the Knicks, but I think both those series are I think they're both over. I think the Lakers are going to move on, the Heat are going to move on. We're probably going to get Celtics and the Nuggets. If I was going to pick one upset right now, it would probably be Philadelphia, just because when you have a player like Harden and Embiid, if they can catch fire, they only need to do it one time in Boston. That gives them a puncher's chance. I don't see KD and then that Phoenix team that seems to be limping in there taking out Denver. Denver should have won Game 4, but they blew that in the second half. All right, we're going to take a real quick break. When we come back, Braves baseball, Max Fried, how long is he on the shelf? What are they going to do about that? We're going to be back in a flash to talk all that and more. Keep it locked in here on Braves Country today, 99.1 FM WQEE, and Braves Country HD on YouTube, worldwide, baby. We'll be back in a flash.
But, I want to say...
I'm just there till my divorce is final.
Now, who is coconuts enough to divorce you?
We gotta go. But we'll see you around.
Well, we'll have to have you over sometime.
I'd love it.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. She's awesome.
No, we are never having her over. Heard she already slept with 2 dads from the school.
What?
Mm-hmm.
That's horrible.
Whenever I bring home Entenmann's Little Bites muffins.
Little Bites?
That's right, sweetie. Can you just give Mommy a minute?
I love Little Bites.
I know you do, but we're doing a commercial right now, okay?
Got it.
As I was saying, whenever I bring home you-know-what, you-know-who gets pretty excited. And so do I. Little Bites muffins are made with real ingredients, no high-fructose corn syrup, and are baked moist and delicious.
I love Little Bites.
Here you go.
Yes.
Entenmann's Little Bites muffins. The perfect portion of happiness.
Hey, sports fans, it's Rod Peterson here, host of The Rod Peterson Show, inviting you to join us daily for 2 hours of Atlanta's funnest sports talk right here on WQEE. I say fun because it is. You've never heard a show like it because we make the listeners a part of the show every day between noon and 2 p.m. Eastern. You'll hear plenty of the best sports talk, including the latest on the Falcons, the Braves, and more. And who knows, you might even hear you. That's the Rod Peterson Show, daily at noon, right here on WQEE 99.1 FM.
Do you want to lose 18 pounds fast and improve your health? Now you can lose up to 18 pounds in your first 2 months with Nutrisystem. Get delicious breakfasts, lunches, dinners, even snacks and shakes delivered safely to your door. All delivered for free. It's easy to follow, and you'll see results in your first week. You'll get your favorite foods made healthier and perfectly balanced to put your body in fat-burning mode. Millions of people have lost weight with Nutrisystem, and you can too. Lose up to 18 pounds in your first 2 months.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textplan.us. Texting enrolls for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply. Reply stop to opt out.
Now you will receive us. We do not ask for your poor or your hungry. We do not want your tired and sick. It is your corrupt we claim. It is your evil that will be sought by us. With every breath, we shall hunt them down. Each day, we will spill their blood till it rains down from the skies. These are principles which every man of every faith can embrace. These are not polite suggestions. These are codes of behavior. And shepherds we shall be.
Armchair.
Community Access Channel.
You're in Braves country.
Welcome back here to Braves Country. Today, Braves Country Baseball coming your way, 7:21 pitch. And we're starting a series off with the Boston Red Sox. Looking forward to that. And Charlie Morton on the mound. Before we get into tonight's game, let's go ahead and dive into what's going on with Max Fried. He's got a forearm strain. Now, there's good news, bad news about this. And essentially, what you have going on is the good news is they do expect him to return this year. And they do expect him to be fine. They're not thinking Tommy John. They did x-rays yesterday, et cetera, et cetera. That's the good news. When it's all said and done, that is the good news. The bad news is because, I mean, honestly, when you first hear forearm strain and you see them going for imaging, when we had the show yesterday, we didn't have all the information, and I was thinking they were just going to push his start back. Once they said they went in for imaging, that makes you a little nervous. So he goes to the 15-day IL. This isn't going to be like when he went to the IL with the hamstring, because he's going to have to sit out 2 weeks or so of no throwing. And then when they clear him to throw, let's say it's 2 weeks from now. It could be longer. But let's say it's 2 weeks from now. At that point, you are then talking about another 2 weeks before he would be ready to come back, because they would have to work him back up. So that's where we're at right now, is looking at the whole ball of wax and realizing that we're probably, so here we are, May 9th. Let's be honest, middle of June is probably the best case scenario for Max Fried to return. So you kind of have to put that back and say, all right, well, he's gone. Not a whole lot you can do about this. By the way, there's talks that Max Scherzer may not make his start tonight. That guy, I don't know what's going on with him, but he seems like he's a wreck. But back to our issues. We've already got Kyle Wright on the IL. We hope to have him back sometime by the end of the month. Now, all these are big time bad news, right? But the good news is we do have the best record in the National League. So if you were sitting here like we were last year, a few games under 500 and flailing away while the Mets are just rolling, it would be much more of a dire situation. But instead what we have is I never like to say, well, we got games that we can lose because we have the padding. But right now, it's a 7-game lead. So it's not the end of the world if we lose a few games in the standings over the next month. But you don't want to, that's not what you're aiming for. You're trying to figure out a way to continue to win. So how do we do that? Dylan Dodd, in all likelihood, is coming back up. But that only cures one issue, right? Because right now what you have is Fried is on the IL, Wright's on the IL. So you have Strider and Morton and Elder. Those are your 3 givens on the pitching staff. And then outside of that, you have, let me straighten up that screen there. What you have is Dylan Dodd most likely getting another chance, and then maybe Schuster. Because I know there's talk about Mike Soroka, but if they do bring him up, I would just be a little shocked. Because if they bring in Mike Soroka, he has not pitched well over the last couple of weeks in AAA. So you just rolling the dice? Or do you really see something that you're like, you know what, I'm not worried about what your numbers are down on the farm. We see good stuff out of you. And if it's almost like a situation that you see when the guys are doing work in spring training where they're just working on stuff, they're not worried about results, they're just working on pitches. I can be sold that. I just seriously doubt that's what the case is. Because when you're trying to come back from an injury, essentially at this point, he has not pitched in Major League Baseball for any considerable amount of time since 2019. But even if you give me 2020, it's been 3 years for what little bit he pitched in 2020. It's been 3 years since then. You've got to show me that you still belong and that you're putting together good innings, that you're getting outs down on the farm. When you give up 8 runs in less than a few innings two starts ago, and then you only went 4 innings last time out and gave up 3 runs. He did get a few strikeouts, which was a little more encouraging. But and I don't care how good some of these AAA players are. They're not as good as the ones you're going to run into in the majors. So it's going to get much more difficult, obviously. And that's concerning to me. More than anything else, that's concerning as far as if you do decide to roll the dice and put him up there, are you going to hurt his overall development and getting him back to where he was a few years just because it's a panic move? So let's say they don't do that. Let's say they're going to keep their head on their shoulders and they're not going to panic, which I don't see the Braves doing. It's not really their MO to rush out there and just start throwing things against the wall and hope something sticks. Then we're probably talking about Schuster. And then at that point, we could be talking about a bullpen game here and there. Now, if you look at the Braves schedule, they got tonight and tomorrow, obviously, and then they do have the day off on Thursday. So that helps a little bit. And then you have Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and you have a day off again. And that day off on that Thursday of next week, that's the last day off for a while. Because so you realistically are going to have to figure out by May 19th, a week from Friday, you're going to have a 5-man rotation you can go to. Because you've got 3 home versus Seattle. This is starting Friday, May 19th. This is after having yesterday off, this Thursday off, and next Thursday off. So after those 3 days off, going on Friday, May 19th, you're going to have 3 at home against Seattle, 3 at home against the Dodgers, a 4-game stand at home against Philly, where the final one is a night game, a Sunday night game. And then you immediately fly out to Oakland for 3 games on that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then you're going to go, then you'll finally get a day off on June 1st. And then you still stay out west and play a tough Arizona team. Then you will get a day off before you come home to face the Mets and the Nationals. That's a tough stretch. It's a tough stretch to go that long with Elder, Morton, Strider, Dodd, and then what is your 5th day? Do you try to Schuster? If Schuster gets banged around, do you throw Soroka out there? Do you go with a bullpen game? It's going to be tricky to navigate. And it's not like we've got a bunch of chumps on our schedule coming up. I mean, Boston has got a good offense. Toronto's got a phenomenal offense. Texas, Seattle, the Dodgers, the Phillies. You get a little bit of a break going to Oakland, but Arizona's been hitting the ball well. And then it's going to be a tough matchup when you play the Mets. So the next month of the season, which is what wraps around just past that Mets series, by June 9th, as we sit here on May 9th, by June 9th is the first game of the Washington series, meaning we will have just finished the 3-game set versus the Mets. And all those games before. See, it's going to be tough. And the other thing that you worry about, or at least that I worry about, is what is it going to do to the bullpen? What is it going to do to the bullpen during this time period? Do they go with a 6-man rotation? Do they say, hey, Schuster, hey, Soroka, let's go. We're going to give it to whoever pitches the best and go from there. They did bring Danny Young up, by the way. I know a lot of folks are not big fans of him. I still think there's a long way to go with Young before we start throwing dirt on him. That was the move that was made today when Fried was put on the IL. And that almost smells and spells of a bullpen game, either tomorrow or sometime possibly Friday. But that's where we're at on that. Now, as far as the lineup tonight, go ahead and try to pull that up real quick. The lineup tonight, I'm a little surprised by it. And that is because if you look, the lineup tonight, I kind of expected, with the move being made of Travis d'Arnaud coming up, I kind of expected d'Arnaud to be in the lineup. But it's Ronald Acuna Jr. leading off. That's no shock. Matt Olson batting second. That's not a shock. Riley once again is third. Murphy's the cleanup. That's been pretty much a given every single game for the last several games. Then Rosario versus right-handers. That's pretty much been par for the course. And then you put Albies in there, the switch hitter. And now Marcell Ozuna has found himself up at the number 7 spot with a righty on the mound. How about that? Michael Harris still sitting at 8 and Orlando Arcia batting 9th. And really, I think that's just breaking up the righty-lefty down the roster is what they're trying to do there. I kind of like having Harris in the 8th spot and Arcia Harris in the 9th spot and Arcia up in the 8th spot, just because it's worked so well in the past. And you get Harris to see much better pitches when you know that Ronald Acuna Jr. is going to be out there on deck. I like having that. When you're talking about the difference between 8th and 9th in the order, you're not talking about much of a chance of that being how many times you're going to face a guy. But I like, until Harris really gets going, and he did have the good at bat the other night, but I like Harris either in the 9 slot or much higher up in the lineup. If Harris is not going to be in the 9 spot, then I kind of like him up 5th or 6th in the order. But that's kind of nitpicking at this point. The lineup itself, it's going to be interesting to see how often they use Travis d'Arnaud. I mean, he's not in the lineup tonight. I thought they would welcome him back with putting him in the lineup, but they may put him behind the plate tomorrow night. So maybe they're just trying to work on how often they are going to use him. And I don't suspect he's going to play like an everyday role at this point. I think they're going to try to work that in and kind of go little by little. And eventually you'll see him in there in a 6-day work week, have him in there 4 to 5 games. But right now, I think it's more likely, best case scenario, to see him in half the week. What do we have? 5 games this week? We may see him 3 times this week, but it wouldn't shock me if it's more like 2. But that's where the lineup is right now. And you got Nick Pivetta on the mound for the Red Sox. And of course, we all remember him from his time in Philly. He can be a tough customer for the Braves. And when you look at his numbers, they don't blow you away. But I just know every time that we've gone up against him, it seems like it takes us a while. Now, there's been a few times where we've really gotten to him. But all in all, it seems like it takes us a second or third time through the order with him. And look, things change because we have a much different lineup than we did a few years ago. But there were times where it would just be incredibly frustrating because he is a guy that tries to pitch off the plate and tries to get you to chase. And if they're not very a little more conservative with their approach, Pivetta is the type of pitcher that can take advantage of that. Typically, the Braves go out there trying to ambush. And I've gone back and forth on whether I like the ambush or not. I'll be honest with you. It's one of those things where as a fan, if it works, you're happy. If it isn't working, you get incredibly frustrated. But all in all, I prefer to see us eat pitches and have us work the count and see the starting pitchers' numbers go up, because just the way today's game is, you have a real strategy there of getting someone out of the game, because gone are the days of Nolan Ryan going out there throwing 150, 170 pitches and no one blinks an eye. Once the starting pitcher gets up around 100, they're yanking them. And sometimes before that. Some of these teams have little unwritten rules in their book that if they get to X amount of pitches by a certain inning, they're going to yank them. I've seen that where folks have talked about, don't pay attention to the 100 total. Pay attention if a guy is already hitting 80 plus in the 4th inning, you may not see him for the 5th. And so if the Braves can get to the Red Sox bullpen, that they do have Kenley Jansen. Isn't that going to be weird and kind of fun to watch that unfold at the end of the game? But if Kenley Jansen comes in with the lead, I better see him throw about 47 pitches, have runners all over the bases, broken back singles galore, the kind of crap we had to endure when he was our closer. I definitely give us the nod. I'd much rather have Iglesias than Jansen. But if Jansen comes in with a 2 or 3 run lead, that's a pretty safe lead. He's still a pretty good closer. But getting to that bridge for Boston is the challenge. They're 8-8 at home, but hey, we're only 9-8 at home. Much better on the road. So hopefully we start changing that trend. Boston, by the way, tonight's going to have a Verdugo in the lineup. They've got Yoshida. If you haven't watched him yet, he's a really good young player from overseas. This is his first year. Good contact hitter. What was he getting? 321 this year? Justin Turner. Remember Justin Turner from the LA Dodgers? He's the designated hitter tonight. Rafael Devers, one of the best hitters in baseball, one of the best power hitters in baseball. He's already got 11 home runs this year. And then you've got Duran in center field tonight, Enrique Hernandez. This is a little bit of a weak spot for them is the shortstop position, which we can feel that pain till about 2 or 3 days ago when Arcia came back. Enrique Hernandez will play solid defense. He's just not one of your better offensive catalysts. And then Casas is the first baseman. Valdez is second baseman, batting eighth, and McGuire's behind the plate tonight. So that's the Boston Red Sox lineup. So that should be, you got to figure that with Morton on the hill versus Pivetta and the offensive firepower that the Braves have versus, I'd say Boston has a solid offense, but top to bottom, they're nowhere near as explosive as Atlanta. But any given night, they can be dangerous. You got to like your chances. I think we're minus 175 in Vegas. At least that's what I saw this morning. So heavily favored to win tonight. And look, we need a big outing from Morton. He's gotten, 3 extra days of rest? In theory, he could have, 2 extra days of rest. He could have pitched Saturday off normal rest. He had Sunday off because they put Elder there instead. And then, of course, we were off Monday. So he is going off of, as opposed to the 5th day, he's going off the 8th day. And so Morton, I expect we might have to go bullpen tomorrow. And if that's the case, and I'm sure they won't release that until after the game. That's pretty much been the MO of Snicker. He'll hint around, but he won't give you the absolute. If we have to go bullpen tomorrow, it can be done, but you don't want to have Morton go out there and only go like 4 innings because he's throwing that curveball into their ankles and walking guys left and right, hits Batman and all that kind of junk. I really would like to see not only a game in which he goes 6 innings plus, but can we knock down these walks? He's got 15 walks in 35 innings. And he's got a handful of hit batsmen again, and he's been doing that a lot the last couple of years. It's that curveball against left-handers. I've seen it so many times. He'll throw that curveball because he's trying to get him to chase. And if that curveball's coming in on you, the thought process is that it's almost like a self-defense where the curveball's diving in on you, and you're going to take a hack at it with 2 strikes. But what he's doing is he's misplacing it, and they're taking it, and it's banging into their foot. And they're not getting out of the way because they'll gladly take a 70-mile-an-hour one on the top of the shoe if you're down 1-2 on the count. We saw it last year. We're seeing it this year. I really hope Morton gets that straightened out because when he's not doing that, he is a tough customer. You would like to see the strikeout rate a little higher. Last year, he was over a strikeout an inning. Right now, he's a little below. But all in all, I'm fine with that. What I'm looking at is keep the walks on, keep the hits on. He's given up a hit an inning. His whip, his walks plus hits divided by innings pitched is 1.44. That's just telling you there's always going to be traffic on the bases when he's out there pitching. You want to whip down below 1.2 or better. It is nice in 34 innings. He's only given up 3 home runs. That is a plus. Pivetta, by the way, 7 home runs in 30 innings pitched. I think 2 guys are going to go deep tonight. I'm calling it. Matt Olson's going to go deep tonight. Man, it's time for Riley to get off the schneid. He has just been banging around there. He's not playing terrible, but he's not playing good. He's definitely not playing well enough to be in the number 3 spot. Let's go Austin Riley and Matt Olson, back-to-back jacks. I expect Acuna to have a good night as well. But Acuna doesn't have to go yard for it to be a great night. And Sean Murphy's almost becoming Mr. Automatic, is he not? I'm sure there's a few folks out there saying, watch out for that Ozuna, baby. Ozuna's on fire. He's hot. He's back, baby. He's back. All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to hit up a couple other things in Major League Baseball that you might have missed. Joey's on the way. We got a lot to talk about when he gets here. We'll be back in a flash here on Braves Country. Keep it locked in here on 99.1 FM, WQEE, and Braves Country HD, YouTube.com.
Hi, it's Jamie, Progressive's Employee of the Month, 2 months in a row. Leave a message at the... Hi, Jamie. It's me, Jamie. I just had a new idea for our song about the Name Your Price tool. So when it's like, tell us what you want to pay, hey, 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 and the trombone goes, blah, 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 and you say, we'll help you find coverage options to fit your budget. Then we just all do finger snaps while a choir goes, statements coming at ya, statements coming at ya. Yes? No? Maybe? Anyway, see you practice tonight. I got new lyrics for the rap break.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state.
Hey, sports fans. Weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern. Drive time on WQEE. Braves Country is a Southern sports talk show with Mac Magee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. That's Braves Country with Mac Magee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. Weekdays, 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. right here on WQEE 99.1 FM.
It's time to live, laugh, and create memories again with MSC Cruises. Join us on some of the world's most modern and innovative ships. Discover again at our new private island, Ocean Key MSC Marine Reserve, named Best New Cruise Destination. Cruise the Caribbean and Bahamas from Miami or Port Canaveral. Book now with free balcony upgrades and flexible booking changes. Call your travel advisor or visit MSCCruises.com. Restrictions apply. MSC Cruises, a world of discovery.
Hey, sports fans, it's Rod Peterson here, host of The Rod Peterson Show, inviting you to join us daily for 2 hours of Atlanta's funnest sports talk right here on WQEE. I say fun because it is. You've never heard a show like it because we make the listeners a part of the show every day between noon and 2 p.m. Eastern. You'll hear plenty of the best sports talk, including the latest on the Falcons, the Braves, and more. And who knows, you might even hear you. That's the Rod Peterson Show, daily at noon, right here on WQEE 99.1 FM.
Ready for the big day, opening day, big game? Mash, we stink every year. This is not a big game. Yes, it is. It's not a big game. Yes, it is. I blew off my daughter's ballet recital for this. I've seen your daughter dance. She sucks. No, she doesn't. Yes, she does. Which one, ballet or tap? It all sucks.
Marie, you're a beautiful dancer.
Atrocious. Ugh.
Johnny.
Unwatchable.
Stop it.
It's awful.
Lovely.
No, it's not lovely. Someone's got to tell her. It stinks.
Welcome back. Found it very interesting. Remember the catcher Gary Sanchez? He is back in New York. Ex-Yankee. Signed a 1-year deal with the Mets. Man, they are grasping at straws at this point. 1-year deal with the Mets. I don't know how long it looks like that he'll be with the Mets fairly quickly. I don't know if he's going to, if he needs any games to get ready or whatnot, but 1 year, $1.5 million. I'm finding it hard to believe he's 30 years old. I swear it feels like yesterday that he came up. If I was to guess, I would have guessed 26, 27. He's 30 years old. He was always a big kid. So I don't know how well he's aged. But interesting. I remember him going to Minnesota, and that did not work out. And when you go on a spot track, you see a picture of him wearing a a San Francisco Giants hat. I don't remember him playing for the Giants. I'm looking it up right now to see what that's all about. I mean, I'm assuming if they have him on there, seeing if you go to Baseball Reference, he's wearing Minnesota. Let me see. Did he play? No, he didn't play for the Giants. That was just someone just screwed up. I was wondering about that. I was like, when did he go to the Giants? Okay, yeah, he was with New York until last year, and then he went to Minnesota, which I remember him going to Minnesota, but it did not pan out well. I remember he started off having a decent season because people were like, all right, here we go. And he ended up, what did he finish with last year? A 205 batting average, a 659 OPS. He did have 16 home runs, 16 RBI. He's never going to be a threat to score or steal, but the knock on him was that A, he rarely got on base, and B, he was about average, if not below average, behind the plate. You wonder if this is going to have something to do with Francisco Alvarez, because they expected him to be the heir apparent behind home plate for the Mets. In fact, I don't know if he's still there, but at the beginning of the season, he was the number one prospect in all of baseball. And he has not had a good season. He is, see, when we played him, he was hitting like 176. What's he hitting now? He's actually picked it up a little bit. So maybe Sanchez is being brought in as as depth. I thought maybe they were going to send Alvarez down to the minors because he had been hitting really poorly, but he's got his batting average up to 220, which I know that's not great, but when you were hitting 176, it's kind of like when we were going, my God, Ozuna, what is wrong with you? Now he's hitting around 150 and everybody wants to throw him a parade. But Francisco Alvarez, there's a thought process with some of the Mets fans that they rushed him to the bigs. I mean, he's only 21 years old. He's playing the most demanding of all the positions, and he's doing it in New York City. So, I mean, there's a lot on his shoulders there, and he's having to deal with a team that has high expectations because they have the highest payroll in all of baseball. And you're dealing with Max Scherzer. You're dealing with Justin Verlander. And then, of course, the language barrier that's going to be there with Kodai Senga. That's a lot to manage. Max Scherzer, by the way, they were talking about that he may not be ready to roll. Let me see here. He was supposed to start tonight, and there was something that popped out just before we came on the air. I want to see if any of this is remotely true. That's the last thing I see is Max Scherzer could miss scheduled start tonight against the Reds. And it looks like, well, I would think they're going to have to go to a bullpen game. I believe David Peterson is still up in their bullpen, and if that's the case, they could probably just slide him in there tonight versus the Reds. But the Reds are no longer just a pushover. In fact, when we played them, we swept the Reds, but every game was very competitive. I was extremely impressed by the Reds team and the fact that they find a way to get on base. So if that ends up being the case, if they end up scratching Max Scherzer, that could be a huge deal. Because what's his deal? Is he going back on the IL? He missed about the same amount of time that Fried missed. Now, Anthony DiComo, who he covers the Mets for MLB.com, what he is saying is that Max Scherzer's injury, which was reported by the New York Post originally, I guess, is no different than the back tightness he has talked about in recent weeks, been managing it without, quote unquote, without issue. So does that mean that they just got to push him back a day or two, or does that mean that he could actually be going to the IL? There's some funny tweets out there, though. Some guy's got a picture of him crying in the rain, talking about Max Scherzer, neck injury, back injury. And oh, by the way, he has a 5.56 ERA. Oh, man. They've got a lot of money loaded in to those two pitchers, Scherzer and Verlander. They are not off to a good start. And David, and I do see it now, David Peterson is traveling with the team. So it sounds like to me that Scherzer may not make a go of it tonight. The Mets are in the middle of about a 10-game stretch where they're playing some really weak teams, and they're not playing so well. They got swept by the Tigers. If you miss it over the weekend, they lost the series at home to the Colorado Rockies. And now they are going to Cincinnati. And the Mets schedule looks like this if you're wondering how it plays out leading up to us playing them next month. They are at Cincinnati and at Washington. So you have 4 series: Detroit, Colorado, Cincinnati, and Washington, that on paper, I'm sure Mets fans were thinking, all right, we've gotten off to a slow start, but in those, 13 games, I'm sure Mets fans were thinking, we got to go 9-4 or better. We'd love 10-3, 11-2, but 9-4 is where we want to be at. They are 1-5 right now, heading out to that. And ESPN has already put Peterson in the lineup. So it sounds like to me that Scherzer is a no-go. And they might just skip his... They do have, let me see, do they have an off? No, they don't have an off day. So they might slide him into the weekend against Washington. What was that, the comment? The Braves need to call up Mike Soroka. Well, Joe, I know the feel, and everybody wants Mike Soroka up, but I have to disagree with that because he's pitched poorly down on the farm. He has pitched very poorly. And until he gets to a point where I'm not expecting a guy to go out there and roll, but he can't be giving up 8 runs in less than 2 innings last week. And then his last time out just a few days ago went 4 innings and 3 earned runs. If you put Soroka in, you have to be prepared to treat it like a bullpen game. You have to be prepared that Soroka could just fall apart, and you're going to have to go ahead and pull him, and then it's going to have to be a bullpen game anyways. Dodd's going to be the number 4 starter at this point. And the number 5 starter, I mean, I'm not necessarily against Soroka, but I would rather look at the long term for Soroka, because I think Soroka could help this team immensely later on in the season. If he's just not pitching that well, and one of the things that I saw was that his velocity is not where it was a few years ago. So could that have something to do with it? Now, that could just be them nitpicking it. It's only a couple miles an hour, but sometimes that makes a big difference. And if he goes out there and gets shelled and ruins his confidence, then where are you at with him? I've been saying all along they need to put him in the bullpen as a guy that goes out there and gives you a couple innings each time, kind of like they did with Strider last year, and see how he performs, and then you slide him in. Let Schuster go out there and kick the ball around and everything. But Danny Young's not going to get it done. I can tell you that right now. He's there to keep a seat warm. He's not going to be there long. In fact, this might be his only night on the squad. He might be there tomorrow. All right, we're going to take a real quick break. Joey's going to join us. We got a lot more to talk about, a little time to do it. 1 hour left here on Braves Country today, and 7:21 pitch. We got it coming your way. We'll be back in a flash here on Braves Country and Braves Country HD, wherever you stream.
I'm bad at sex. There's a lot of thrashing and thumping, but nothing really gets done. I'm like a broken dishwasher.
Armchair Quarterback Radio. We cover the world of baseball from start to finish.
Baerga is 0 for 3. Left center field. Grissom on the run. The team of the 90s has its world championship. A liner off Magee's glove into center field. The Florida Marlins have won the World Series. Brocious, fittingly with a throw, and the Yankees have done it again. Number 24. They are the world champions of baseball in 1998. Chance of a lifetime for Luis Gonzalez. 2-2, bottom of the ninth, game 7 of the World Series. Bases loaded. Florida, center field. The Diamondbacks are world champion. Red Sox fans have longed to hear it. The Boston Red Sox are world champions. In the air to left, well hit. Back is Craig. What a team. What a ride. The Cardinals are world champs in 2011.
Armchair.
You're listening to WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia.
Armchair.
You're listening to the Armchair Quarterback Sports Radio, #1 sports station.
Good afternoon. And this is your Armchair Quarterbacks Sports Flash. We've got a full slate of Major League Baseball here on Tuesday evening. First and foremost, your Atlanta Braves are at home against the Boston Red Sox. 7:21 pitch. Nick Pivetta, Charlie Morton going head-to-head. The rest of the slate looks like this. Mets and Reds added early, 6:40 Eastern. Max Scherzer versus Luke Weaver. And the Phillies and Blue Jays at 6:40 as well. Aaron Nola versus Alek Manoah. The Miami Marlins are out in Arizona to play the Diamondbacks at 9:40. Luzardo versus Brandon Pfaadt. Washington Nationals, 9:45 at San Fran. Patrick Corbin versus Logan Webb. Games outside the NL East. Tigers and Guardians, 6:10 first pitch. Lorenzen and Shane Bieber doing battle. At 6:35, the Rays and Orioles are back at it again. Zach Eflin versus Rodriguez. 1-0 with a 5.46 ERA. Rockies and Pirates. Pittsburgh's calling up Luis Ortiz. The young right-hander came up a little bit last year and had some struggles. One of the top prospects in all of Major League Baseball. He'll go up against Seabold with a 5.3 ERA. A's and Yankees. Schmidt goes to the mound for New York. That game is at 7:05. At 7:40, White Sox and Royals. Lyles versus Giolito. The Dodgers and Brewers are at it again. Syndergaard versus Eric Lauer. The Twins at home. Varland versus Waka. Cardinals and Cubs. They renewed their rivalry again tonight. Flaherty on the mound versus Tyon. And the Astros and Angels. Valdez versus Shohei Ohtani. Should be heck of a showdown out in Anaheim. Rangers and Mariners at 9:40. Heaney versus Kirby. And the NBA playoffs are back at it. A doubleheader on TNT. Philadelphia 76ers are at the Boston Celtics. Game 5. 7:30 is your tip. The Celtics are favored by 7.5. The over-under is 213. The Suns and Nuggets, another Game 5. Both these series tied at 2 apiece. That game is in Denver, 10 o'clock Eastern. The Nuggets, 6-point favorite, 227.5 is your over. And in the NHL, you got a doubleheader on the 4-letter network. Hurricanes and Devils at 7. Stars are at the Kraken at 9:30. New Jersey is a -160. Dallas a -140 on the money line. Bad news out of Atlanta. Max Fried is back on the injured list with an ailment that will sideline him much longer than the groin strain he suffered on opening day. Fried was placed on the IL Tuesday with a left forearm strain, and Atlanta recalled lefty Danny Young from AAA Gwinnett. It's too early to know how long he'll be out of the Braves rotation, but because he will be shut down from throwing for at least a couple of weeks, he will need at least a month to build himself back up after he is cleared to begin throwing again. The Braves own the National League's best record, and they are finally healthy from a position player standpoint, but their injured list now includes Max Fried, who finished second in last year's NL Cy Young balloting. Kyle Wright, who was the MLB's only 20-game winner last year. Fried underwent an MRI Monday afternoon. Forearm discomfort can sometimes be associated with an elbow injury, but the images created no concern about the left-hander's elbow. The 29-year-old hurler underwent Tommy John in 2014 when he was the top prospect in the Padres system. And that's your Armchair Quarterback Sports Flash. Stay tuned for Braves Country right here on WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia, simulcasting on youtube.com at Braves Country.
It's the best in sports and entertainment, and get locked in and locked down with Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. with your host, me, Ryan O'Neill, each and every morning, right here with the best in sports and entertainment, all the way from professional sports to college sports to River Dragons hockey and everything in between, including some of the very best local and national guests. It's the Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Friday, right here on 99.1 FM WQEE.
Hockey season, and that means new merch over at ourdragonsmerch.com. Get the latest designs and some of our fun new souvenirs ahead of what's sure to be a great hockey season. Celebrate another season of River Dragons hockey by getting a new look to wear on game days, or surprise the big-time sports fan in your life with a new keepsake that will make them a River Dragons fan for life. Order online right now at ourdragonsmerch.com. That's the letter R, dragonsmerch.com. We'll see you at the rink.
Braves Country today. We're talking Southern sports. We go live 3 to 5 weekdays right here on WQEE. Braves Country today, Southern sports talk with the voice of Braves Country baseball, Mac Magee. Joined every day from sports analysts from all over Braves Country, talking college football, the NFL, Major League Baseball, and what's trending in the world of sports. Braves Country today. We go live 3 to 5 weekdays right here on WQEE. Welcome back. Hour number 2. And Joey A is in the building. Joey, how are you, my friend?
Oh, I'm doing great. Batteries are recharged. There's like a sickness going through our family lately, but back feeling great now. And you know what? Honestly, I know there's a lot of great sports this week, but just for the purpose of me being able to schedule out football season, I'm pretty excited for the release on Thursday because that's when I start to map out my road to success or failure for the Colts.
So you were sick too?
Last Thursday, remember I texted you. I was like, I kind of got to.
Oh, that's right. You were sick, and then your brother was sick. What'd y'all do? Like end up in the same brothel?
We farted on the same pillow.
What was her name?
John.
Yeah, schedule release is what, Thursday, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Do you sit around and watch the schedule release?
I'm not going to, I'll have it on as in the background because we'll have a couple of TVs going with the games, but I just more look for the complete schedule. Then I'll sit down with my brother and dad and we kind of map out our paths to where we could, what's realistic to go to. That's what I look forward to the most.
Y'all try to go to what, one Bucks and one Colts game a year?
Yeah, ideally we try to get to each stadium once. So Tampa, obviously a little more logistics go into that. Indy's pretty easy for me here in Chicago.
Now your dad, I know he's a Cubs fan. Who's his NFL team?
Instead of trying, when he grew up, it was all Raiders. But now, since we're Bucks and Colts, he says I don't choose one. I'm 50% Bucks. I'm 50% Colts, and he rides those two out.
Okay.
But when he grew up, he was Raiders.
So he just pulls for your teams. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if there was a third team in the mix there that. So all you big diehard fans living in the Chicago area, none of y'all are Bears fans. It kills me.
My mom complains all the time because she's actually the only Bears fan. She goes, "What the heck is this? I got to go watch a 30-inch TV in my room to get the Bears on around here because you're watching the Bucks and this kid's watching the Colts." Because we do Sundays at my parents' house.
She's got a point.
She does. It's her house.
And it's the home team. You know?
Sorry, Mama.
I'd be damned if I'd be squirreled away somewhere where my kids were watching the Royals on one TV and the Mariners on the other, and I'm hiding out in the back room with the Braves on my phone
on a small radio.
I'd be damn.
Oh yeah, that's just a little family history.
I don't know, like I get the excitement from the schedule release, but they really just turned it into a television show.
It is too much.
It's a little dragged out too. They do it for like 4 or 5 hours on the two different networks to talk about what? You know what they're going to talk about this year? 80% of it's going to be who are the Jets playing? Where is Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets going to be playing?
You're 100% right.
I hate to break it to y'all, but there won't be a lot of Colts and Bucks coverage this year.
No, I mean, I know the outlooks aren't always great, but I honestly, I'm not even expecting.
If you could pick 5 teams that they're going to focus on, because they'll only show for like 5 teams, they'll skim over the rest, but they'll only go to maybe. I'm being very generous when I say 5. It's probably 3. We're talking with the Jets, probably the defending Super Bowl champion Chiefs. I'd say the Eagles would be heavily. The Cowboys. We know they're going to talk about the Cowboys, and then what's the 5th team?
I'm gonna throw in the Denver Broncos with Sean.
No one cares about Denver Broncos.
I don't care about
Nobody cares about Denver Broncos. That doesn't have any buzz. If Jacksonville was in a bigger market, I'd say the Jaguars have a chance because there's a lot of excitement, but they're in such a small market. It's going to have to be a market that they think is worth covering. New England is flat nowadays. I don't think the Giants have enough star power. San Francisco's got too many questions at quarterback. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Cincinnati's not a really great market, so they probably won't do much there either.
Yeah, Cincinnati, look. Oh, you know who it'll be? It'll be Baltimore. They'll all be just freaking tongue bathing Lamar. And the Ravens.
That's a good one.
Who will end up being 8-9 again?
Maybe they'll give Buffalo some love.
I don't think they will, because even though it's New York, it's not considered New York.
No, it's the
New Yorkers don't claim Buffalo. Yeah, I lived in New York City. I'm telling you, they're like, it's not New York. That's Southern Canada. It's not New York. It's just like us Floridians. We don't claim Miami.
Yeah, they gone.
Like that is not Florida. That's a northern Cuba. That's not Florida at all. They pretty much most Floridians cut off the state of Florida right below Orlando. After you get past Orlando, they go, nah, man, we don't pay attention to anything down there.
Too much. They should have just split this into 2. You guys got enough teams to deal with in the north.
I'm excited to see where the Falcons are and who they play and when they play, because I think that's going to be a fun offense. Schneider's asking about Soroka. We talked about in the hour number 1. I mean, he's in the minor leagues. He's in the minor leagues. He's putzing around. He's got a 5 ERA, and everyone keeps bringing him up because they remember him in 2019, which is his last season in the major leagues. He could get called up, but I wouldn't expect the moon and stars. If Mike Soroka gets called up, expect him to pitch a couple innings, and they're going to have a quick hook. And it's no longer worrying about injury. It's more about worrying about his psyche because he has been getting dusted in AAA.
Yeah, and opposite here of like in Chicago with the Cubs where, we're struggling a little bit. We have some young guys in the minors. We want those guys to come up. We don't mind if they take a little bit of time, but the Braves are at 24-11. Why bring a guy up from the minors who's struggling to me when you have, I'm not saying they have a ton of room for error, but they're 7 games up in the division. They don't need a Soroka to come up and throw a gem right now. He might not even be able to do it. Like you mentioned, they would only maybe give him a couple of innings. So I think I would pause the brakes a little bit on that, be a little patient, and just, I'm sure the Braves have somebody else they could throw out there who could do a serviceable job.
I think the game plan is to get him in here in the major leagues this year, but they want to make sure he's firing on all cylinders. I said it in the first hour. I would prefer to see him start off in the bullpen and come in for like a couple of innings, either as an opener type thing or a piggyback, or you just put him in when you need him for 2, maybe 3 innings.
Yeah, low leverage situations.
Much like they did with Strider when they first started Strider off last year. I think a lot of people forget Strider started off in the bullpen and was just, he was throwing flames and they couldn't keep him out of the lineup any longer. But right now, with Max Fried going on the IL, and I think I don't think we're going to see him for about a month. So Max Fried's going on the IL. Kyle Wright's already on the IL. Best case scenario would be for Kyle Wright to be back just in time for the Mets series in early June. But with all that going on, you're going to have Dodd, and then the number 5 starters up in the air. Like, could they throw Soroka in there and hope for the best? I just think it's much more likely that they give either Schuster another chance, or they could go in a couple of different directions because there's a couple of kids down the farm who are actually having pretty good years so far. So it's not out of the realm of possibility for them to be going in a totally different direction. The other thing that could happen, I don't think it'll happen this early, but it could happen. Atlanta could get very aggressive and go make a move for a starter.
I was going to ask you, I was going to say, like, I know, as you just said, it's too early, but maybe we get to June, early July, and they still have some injuries. Why not maybe make a veteran move that don't cost you, the bank? You could get someone like I'll just throw out a name like a Desclafani. I'm just throwing out a name pretty much. But why not maybe go for a veteran that you could get some innings out of that don't cost you the farm?
Yeah, I'll tell you a guy who's pitching pretty well. Now, he pitches much better at home than he does on the road, but man, Zach Greinke's giving some good innings to Kansas City right now.
How about that?
I think what you'd have to do if you're going to pull off a move like that this far away from the deadline is you're going to have to go after a team that is in the tank, right? They have no shot in hell of turning it around. They're not expecting it to turn it around, and they're fine with telling their fan base they're not going to turn it around. So I'll give you 5 teams: the Kansas City Royals, the Oakland Athletics, although they really don't have a starter per se. Not a starter that you want.
Right.
The St. Louis Cardinals is kind of interesting. They've got the worst record in the National League. Would the Cardinals think about parting ways with one of their starters this early, or is it too early for them to give up for that fan base? Probably so. They probably wouldn't give up this quick. The Reds don't really have veterans that they're trying to dump off, so I don't think they're really an option. The Rockies would be another one that you could possibly get to see. I disagree with San Francisco. I don't think San Francisco is ready to give up. They're only 5 games out.
Oh, I'm not. Yeah, not right now, but maybe that could change in a month. We'll see.
Most of the other teams, I would say, they're not going to give up. And Detroit's playing so well for Detroit standards, there's no way in hell they're going to give up. They're going to fight to the death right now. What's ironic is one of the teams that's one of the farthest teams out of the playoff race is the New York Yankees. But you know you're not going to get the Yankees to give up this quick. And they're
I'll
not.
Tell you what, the White Sox have a couple starting pitchers. They're pretty bad.
They do, and I could see the White Sox, but is 7.5 out of first? Is that far enough to give up yet? I mean, Dylan Cease would be a game changer, but
even Giolito would be nice.
Yeah, you can have him. I'd rather take my chances with Schuster. Giolito gets bombed.
He's got a 3.67. It's not the worst.
He gets bombed though, man. Every time that he's in a big spot, he gets absolutely roasted. If I was gonna go White Sox pitching, and I can't get Dylan Cease, which Dylan Cease would be perfect. He's from Milton, Georgia. How about that?
It would just cost a lot. I think it would just cost a lot.
Here's a guy that you maybe, I don't know. Would you take a chance on this guy or not? Mike Clevenger?
I thought you were going to ask me about Lance Lynn because that guy's ERA is $1 million. Clevenger.
If Lance Lynn had, I don't know where he is on payroll, as far as how much longer he's got on his deal.
Clevenger would be cheap.
Well, I know Clevenger's only a 1-year deal. It's like a 1-year 7 or 1-year 8 deal. I did not know that Clevenger. I didn't know that Mike Clevenger's from Jacksonville, Florida.
Yeah, I just saw that as well. Lance Lynn's making.
That's why it looks like white trash. Welcome to the family, buddy.
Those rumors against him make a little more sense. No, but Lance Lynn makes about $8 million a year.
Do you have how much longer he's on his deal?
He actually, I think this is the last year of the deal. It's either this year or next year. He has 1 or 2 years left. 2 years left.
Yeah. If it was 1 year left, I could see them 2 years left. They probably want more than what he's worth. I don't think they're going to trade.
Oh, God. And the base salary.
This guy's talking about trading Grissom and Ozuna. Nobody wants Ozuna. That's what everyone keeps forgetting. Like, we'll trade Ozuna. Nobody wants Ozuna. No one's going to sign up for Ozuna's money.
Get a bag of peanuts?
Yeah, nobody wants Ozuna. The only team that thinks that Ozuna is really good is the Miami Marlins because he pounded the hell out of him last weekend. And they don't have the money to pay him. And Grissom, they're not giving up on Grissom yet. If they trade Grissom, it would be a part of a deal to bring in a frontline starter. It's not to bring in Lance Lynn. It's to bring in Dylan Cease. Bring Dylan Cease. Man, if you had Dylan Cease and Strider on the same roster, whoo! That's a whole lot of mustaches and strikeouts. That's all I know. Cease and
probably
Strider,
World Series rings in a few years.
Cease and Strider look like that they could be twins, man. When Cease first came out,
Bring
and
back the stash.
Yeah, man, it's a stash. Now Strider's got the quads, but still, I guess Cease is a little bigger. I didn't realize Cease is 6'2". He always looks much shorter. He's from Milton, Georgia, though. Let's go get him. I like Schneider's idea though. Let's go ahead and let's con him into taking Ozuna, and we'll give you Grissom, and you give us Dylan Cease. There's no way in hell anybody would take that trade. But I mean, I'd sign up for it right now.
Well, he also said cut Soroka.
Well, you got to read the whole context of that. That's
sorry.
going,
I just am catching up on it.
Yeah, that's going much into the future. All right, it's 420. Smoke them if you got them. We'll be back in a flash here on Braves Country. And Braves Country today, 99.1 FM WQEE and Braves Country HD YouTube.
Stupid interviews. Hey, you're a member of the Buffalo Bills. How does it feel?
Well, it's a blessing. Well, thank God. Gonna try to do my best. It's a great organization. And I'll say the last 80 guys said. So, yeah.
Hockey season, and that means new merch over at ourdragonsmerch.com. Get the latest designs and some of our fun new souvenirs ahead of what's sure to be a great hockey season. Celebrate another season of River Dragons hockey by getting a new look to wear on game days, or surprise the big-time sports fan in your life with a new keepsake that will make them a River Dragons fan for life. Order online right now at ourdragonsmerch.com. That's the letter R, dragonsmerch.com. We'll see you at the rink.
It's the best in sports and entertainment, and get locked in and locked down with Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. with your host, me, Ryan O'Neill, each and every morning, right here with the best in sports and entertainment, all the way from professional sports to college sports to River Dragons hockey and everything in between, including some of the very best local and national guests. It's the Rhino Radio Penitentiary, 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Monday through Fridays, right here on 99.1 FM WQEE.
Dixie Handle Company, 5 generations of the Strickland family have produced quality hardwood farm and garden tools, wooden shutters, and custom furniture. This small business has been owned and operated since 1992 and ships to customers across the world. If you're looking for the highest quality tool handles, Dixie Handle Company is your place. Every item is hand-picked to your specifications. If it's made of wood, they do it. Call now, 931-722-3395. That's 931-722-3395. Or go online to DixieHandle.com. The Dixie Handle Company. Welcome to Craftsmanship, a proud sponsor of Braves Country Baseball. Welcome back to Braves Country. Mac Magee and the Armchair Quarterbacks. Weekdays, 3 to 5 p.m. Drive time on WQEE.
You shut up! Well, you make me change restaurant, but nobody come. But where are people? You see people? Show me people. There are no people. You bad man. You very, very bad man.
Bad man? Could my mother have been wrong?
Hopefully hear a lot of that tonight, a lot of chop, a lot of fireworks going off, home runs going over the wall. Braves Red Sox 7:20 first pitch right here on Braves Country HD. Looking forward to that. It's going to be Morton on the hill tonight, and then tomorrow they have not given a confirmed. We know one thing, it's not going to be Max Fried. He went to the IL today. So that we do know. And looking at tomorrow, let's see if they still haven't announced it. So I figure we're going to find out tonight sometime after the game. They'll announce who the starting pitcher is. I'm thinking Dylan Dodd, but they could go bullpen game. But you do have some other interesting games going on around Major League Baseball tonight. I'll tell you what, that Phillies Blue Jays game, Gausman versus Wheeler tomorrow. This is going to be a fun series to watch. Is that just a 2-game series? Because they're playing at 4:00 tomorrow. So it seems like they're getting in and getting done. But tonight, it's Manoah versus Aaron Nola. That's a fun little 2-game series. Phillies and the Blue Jays in Philadelphia.
I like that one.
And ESPN, I haven't gotten any confirmation on it yet, but let me see if we can get anything. See, he will miss the start today. So it's been official. Max Scherzer will miss his start today. He's saying back spasms. It's going to be David Peterson on the mound now. Oof. Man, things are not going your way if you're a New York Mets fan.
You just hate to hear that, don't you?
Take the over in that game. Peterson versus Luke Weaver. Both ERAs are in the 7s. Woo, doggy.
I tell you one fun one that I'm looking at is Astros and Angels tonight. It's Valdez and Ohtani on the mound. You want to talk about two dogs in that one?
Yes. I've already taken the under on that one. I think the under
move.
I think it's 7.5. That should be the opposite of a laser show. That's going to be a water fight. That's going to be a good old-fashioned rock fight, man.
Bring your squirt guns.
You're not going to get – runs will be at a premium in that game, or they should be. Can never – hey, how about I haven't seen you since the weekend. I hit the Kentucky Derby.
No way.
I don't know jack squat about horse racing, but I was listening to a guy. He was going on and on about Mage. I was like, is that what it's called? The horse is called Mage? I was like, it's not a very creative name. Like normally, like I sprinkled some money on an Angel of Empire too, just because I thought it was a cool name.
That's the one I bet.
And I'm like, Mage. What a stupid name. And then I saw it, and it was spelled MAGE. So if you had one more E, you got my last name. I was like, you got to throw something on there. Like, that's too on the nose. So I threw it on there, ended up winning like around $200. I didn't put a whole lot on there. It was 15 or 16 to 1 at the time. I think
you're right.
I put something. It was a weird number because it was something that I'd won out of another one, and I just threw it in there. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to let it ride. And I was talking about this yesterday, but I was so disappointed at the Did you watch the race?
I did.
Did you listen to the race, or did you just watch?
No, it was on mute. I had another volume on.
Whoever this guy is doing the horse races for NBC, I think is who it was, sucks. He sucks. They used to have really good horse race broadcasters. And I was so disappointed because one of the greatest things that I love, and you know that I love the play-by-play aspect in all sports, right?
Yep, correct.
But to me, and I would never be in this position because I don't know a damn thing about horse racing. So you could never put me there to cover a horse race because I wouldn't know what I was doing. But I'd love to be the guy standing in the back and then also just chime in. And down the stretch they come, right? And I'm waiting for him to say that because for years you would hear that when I think ABC used to do it. But anyways, Al Michaels used to always do the Kentucky Derby, and I was always waiting for it. And he'd come in with and down the stretch they come, and then that's when all right, well, it's go time now. I gotta actually start paying attention here. These 15 to 30 seconds of horse racing that's actually exciting to me. And all he said was, and they're on the back stretch. And I'm like, is that his version of down the stretch? This guy sucks. And then as he's calling it, he's not even mentioning Mage that much until the very end because then Mage wins it. And I'm shocked as hell that Mage won it. I'm trying to figure out, because you're watching this, you don't know who the hell is who because they just have numbers and they're kind of faintly put on there. And I'm just like, I don't know who the hell I'm pulling for. I'm looking for Mage, I'm looking for Angel of Empire, but I don't know which number they are.
It was kind of unreal, too, how that whole day started where you have the favorite get scratched, not to get too deep in the weeds, but for Forte, who I think was 3-1, that was kind of wild how I know horses have injuries and stuff, but bam, there goes the favorite right of that morning.
Well, what they mentioned, what these horse guys were mentioning, and they do pretty well on normal betting, so that's why I actually listened to them. One guy was beating the drum against Mage, and the other guy said, well, he's actually my second favorite one, so I like him too, right?
Right.
Well, what got me about the whole thing was he said Mage normally starts off slow, but when you get Mage down going down these back stretches and whatnot, Mage outruns the other horses by like pole lengths. Basically passes them like they're standing still. And they said the last 2 races, Mage had not had this terrible start. Actually started pretty well. And that's what they were banking on. And because Mage was not sitting on the inside, it was on the outside, they felt like Mage wouldn't get, caught up in the traffic, essentially. So that's why I went. I was like, you know what? You convinced me. I don't know what the hell you're talking about, but I kind of do. But anyways, let's just go. And then they win. Or she wins. It's a she, right? I don't know.
I tell you what, though, I mean, it's kind of nice to have a sport where you're like, you know what? I don't even care if I lose this bet, really, but I want a dog in the race, or a horse, I should say, and bam, you win the thing. So that's pretty cool.
I'm pretty sure that's only the second time I've ever won it, and I've been doing this every year. I'm pretty sure that's only the second time I've won it. If there's been a third or fourth time, I don't remember that. I remember Go for Gin years ago. I was at that party and we all threw our money in the hat, and I won it. And then Saturday's race. Normally I go off of like some guy who's supposed to be a genius on ESPN or whatever, and I go with his. I go, all right, let's go. All right, let's go. Let's get in there. And then the horse is nowhere to be found. You see the horse chasing butterflies in the infield. What are you doing? Run down the window. What are you doing?
The gates
to do. It's run like hell. What are you doing?
The gates open, the horse goes out the other side.
You're like, where's my horse? It's getting humped by the other horse. They're way back there in the back. Son of a. What are you doing? Anyway. What do we got here? Someone asked about Pilar. I mean, Pilar is pretty much the thing about Pilar. Pilar is being set up to face lefties. So you don't see Pilar in a lot, because to put Pilar in, you would have to bench Rosario, who's starting to hit righties well. So it's really turning into a right. I'll tell you what's really going to clog up the whole thing, and it's a good problem to have. But now with Travis d'Arnaud back, you've got the designated hitter slot in left field to try to rotate out Rosario, Pilar, Ozuna, and d'Arnaud. And of course, Murphy when Murphy's not behind the plate. That's 5 guys you're trying to jam into 2 slots. And not to mention the fact that every once in a while you got to get Hilliard in there just to make sure that he's awake and alive.
I was really happy when Arcia came back. So, man, good problems to have in Atlanta right now.
I like the idea of, if we're facing a lefty, to put Ozuna in the outfield, but the moment that starter comes out, pull Ozuna out and put a better defender in. And so you either go get Pilar or you go put Hilliard out there. Ozuna's been hitting the ball well the last couple of weeks, but I don't want him in there. And I'm talking about by the 6th inning, I don't want him in there in high leverage situations. He doesn't come through in big spots. So if the bases are loaded with 2 outs in the 8th inning, he's not really the guy you want going up there, because he doesn't really have like these great at bats. But I'm all for putting him in there beginning of the game. Let him hack away at the bottom of the order. What's it going to hurt? But there's going to come a point where Ozuna is going to, I mean, he's pretty much going to become a guy that's only going to get at bats at the very front of the game, because when you get to the weeds at the end of the game, you want Harrison center, you want Acuna in right, and you probably want Hilliard in left, but Pilar is not a bad number 2. And for that matter, Rosario is not going to be in there. Rosario's defense is okay, but it's not on the same level as Hilliard and Pilar. I know, we're all going to love Rosario forever because of what he did along with Soler and Jock Peterson, because of what they did in 21. But facts are facts. He's not that good of a defender. He's okay, but he's he's the opposite of you know when they say, man, he really made that look easy. Rosario does a great job of making stuff look hard that just shouldn't be.
What are you doing?
He'll bang into a fence or whatever, juggle a ball, somehow catch it, and a good outfielder would have just drifted back there and made the catch. We'll get into the NBA here in a second. Any interest in the NHL games tonight?
Not as much as the NBA because those series are 2-2. Each of the NHL games. I will say this: the Dallas-Seattle series. If I had to watch a game, that one intrigues me the most because this Kraken one's pretty cool right now. But at the same time, I kind of like Dallas, so I would say the Dallas-Seattle. And also, I mean, Carolina, though, New Jersey, that's 2-1 too, but I'm going with the Kraken and Dallas series. Dallas is minus 140.
We're talking about this yesterday. Can you imagine the disaster of the ratings if you get the Seattle Kraken versus the Florida Panthers in the in the Stanley Cup?
Oh my goodness.
Dude, nobody's going to watch that. Not even hockey fans. They're going to be like, what?
It's crazy because hockey's had so many cool upsets with the Bruins going down, and now the Maple Leafs look like they're on their way out just again. But once you get to the finals and you get to it's like in the NCAA tournament, when you watch the whole tournament, you're like, wow, this has been cool. And then you end up with San Diego State in the final, and you're kind of like, interest is gone.
Right. I mean, hockey is just one of those sports that they have to have if they don't have their staples in there, I'm talking about like the Rangers or the Blackhawks or there's a couple of Canadian teams I would put in that same conversation. If they don't have one of them in the championship, they're going to be hurting for ratings.
Thank you.
I like the Nashville Predators, but if the Nashville Predators go to the finals, I'm going to tell you right now, that's terrible for the ratings. It's god awful.
That's why I say thank you, hockey gods, for rigging it and giving the Blackhawks the first pick, because maybe we'll actually be good in a few years again. We were not supposed to get the first pick last night in the drawing, and we ended up getting it, which is huge because they say there's one player that's the next whatever, not Gretzky.
Don't they say that every year?
I don't know enough to comment on that too much, but I was just happy to see him to get the first pick.
I don't care enough to comment on it. All right, let's go ahead and take a quick break.
Zinga!
Zing-a! We'll be back in a flash here on Braves Country. Armchair Quarterback Radio, your home for the SEC.
Back third down on the 8. In trouble. Got a block behind him. Gonna throw and a run. Complete to the 25. To the 30. Lindsey's got 35, 41. Lindsey, 25, 20, 15, 10, 5. Lindsey's got. Lindsey's got. Lindsey's got. SEC.
Armchair.
Dixie Handle Company, 5 generations of the Strickland family have produced quality hardwood farm and garden tools, wooden shutters, and custom furniture. This small business has been owned and operated since 1992 and ships to customers across the world. If you're looking for the highest quality tool handles, Dixie Handle Company is your place. Every item is hand-picked to your specifications. If it's made of wood, they do it. Call now, 931-722-3395. That's 931-722-3395. Or go online to DixieHandle.com. The Dixie Handle Company. Welcome to Craftsmanship, a proud sponsor of Braves Country Baseball.
Coach, how do you feel about your past season?
Well, it's been a very rewarding season for us. It's one that I would not have been able to lay my job on the line saying we were going to win 9 ball games. I couldn't have done it before the year. And it's been we were hoping definitely to have a winning season, for the first time in a long time. And it's just been an excellent season as far as the way things turned out are concerned.
Well, can you say how you brought a losing Florida State team around to be a winning one?
No, I can't. Number one, we've got some real fine assistant coaches that I think know what they're doing, and they work very hard at football, spend a lot of time on it. And even more important than that is the attitude of our players who knew what they wanted to accomplish and had confidence that they could do it and were willing to work.
Armchair.
Make sure to listen to the Armchair Quarterbacks. Prime time, drive time. The Armchair Quarterbacks good enough for us down here in the bayou. Go Tigers and the Armchair Quarterback. Welcome back. Max Scherzer has been scratched from his start, in case you're just joining us. And, well, gonna look at the lines here. What about those NBA lines tonight? What are you liking there?
Yeah, and actually, that's where my lock lies is in the NBA tonight. I think the Celtics spread right now, which is at 7.5. I do think, even though that's a decent sized number, that they're going to cover that. And why do I mostly think that? For a few reasons. Number one, James Harden, he's an every other game guy. I feel like he takes one night off and he plays a good one. Well, in their last game, we all know what he did there to put up 42. I don't think that's going to happen again tonight. I think Boston on their home court will come out sizzling and really do some big things. So I really love Boston tonight, giving the points. And then when I look at the other game, I was surprised that Phoenix was able to make this 2-2, if I'm being fully honest, because I didn't think with just going through Durant and Booker they could get there, but they did. But it now goes back to the home side of things. It's at 6.5. I'm staying away from that spread. I don't have a good feel for it there, but I do think the over 227 will come in. So again, to recap that, like the Celtics given the 7.5. And in the second game, I like the over in Suns Nuggets, but both good series at 2-2.
Yeah, I've got Celtics on the money line is going to complete a parlay for me tonight. So hopefully that comes through. I
like the odds of that.
I took the Golden State on a tease along with the Celtics and the Heat. And the first two covered, and so all I'm waiting for is so hopefully all the Celtics have to do is win. They don't have to cover a spread. So I'm hoping that actually comes through. Man, I'm a little surprised that looking at the Reds, I think I got my lock for the night. I am going to take the Reds plus 1.5 at home against the Mets and David Peterson. I really believe that should be much higher odds. Peterson is sitting at minus 165 on the money line. The Reds are sitting at plus 145 on the money line. But I'm going to go ahead and take the run line plus 1.5 at a minus 110. You don't get a plus 110 in that situation. I mean, basically two pitchers who are very, very evenly matched. You rarely get that. I honestly think that's just New York bias.
Yeah, I like the Reds in that matchup. I mean, they're not they're 14-20 in the Central, but they've been competing. They're not one of those teams that just usually get beat up all over on. So we'll see what happens. They did have a couple games, obviously, against the Braves, but that's the Braves. Who doesn't lose to the Braves, right? So I like that.
If you're just joining us, Max Fried is going to the IL and expected to miss about a month. So, there goes that. There goes that. It's a good thing that we've got that little lead in the NL East right now.
The little one, that's a real nice cushion.
Right. Man, things can spiral so quickly. I'm not going to be like that knucklehead on WFAN last summer going, the NL East is over. The NL East is over. He's been eating every word of that.
The one good thing I do, and I know this is majorly from an outsider's perspective, but, when you look at the Braves, the one thing I really do like is usually a team when they're 24-11, you think maybe, so many veterans, probably some people that are close to over the hill. No, the Braves are just young. The good players are young. Their young players are good. So they just have a bunch of, between the minor leagues, what's on the roster now. I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't think the injury bug, besides the couple they have in the starting rotation, obviously, I think that lineup could stay healthy pretty much all year. And as you mentioned yourself, they're very deep. So I'm pretty confident that the Braves shouldn't pull a New York Mets of, what was that, 2 years ago or last year, whenever they. It
was last year.
Yeah, bump with last year. Sorry.
Yeah, but I look, it really comes down to starting pitching, and now we've got two of our top horses on the IL. I mean, you're talking about Max Fried, who finished second in the Cy Young voting last year, and Kyle Wright, the only 20-game winner in all of Major League Baseball. Both of them are on the IL. That's concerning.
It is.
And it all comes down to your starting pitching. You can score as many runs as you want. If you don't have starting pitching, I mean, it's pretty much why the Mets are where they are right now. Because what have you gotten out of the $88 million that you're paying Scherzer and Verlander this year? What the hell have you gotten out of those two?
And you know what? That frustrates the absolute heck out of me when you say that, because obviously we all know starting pitching is important. But the Cubs, who have 3 starting pitchers in the top 12 in baseball, statistically, they were going over it last night. And we can't even get to – we're 17-18 right now with a plus 44 run differential and 3 of the top 12 starters in the National League. It's just absolutely frustrating in Chicagoland right now.
I just don't see how well, the thing about the NL Central is, though, man, no one's really playing that great of baseball. That thing's still wide open.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the Pirates have – I mean, they're still 21-15, but they've come back down to life. They've lost like 8 out of their last 10.
Yeah, I don't see the Pirates being able to keep that up for an entire summer. Now, I do think that the Pirates have a decent chance of winning that division, but they're not just going to play outstanding baseball. So the point is, you might be able to win the NL Central, I don't know, 500, but you might be able to win the Central
83, 84 wins.
85 wins might win it.
Yeah. It's just so crazy. Like you mentioned the Cardinals earlier, but to see them at 12-24, I don't think that lasts. And then the Pirates in first at 2015, as you just mentioned, they could play decent baseball, but I think the NL Central is one of those divisions where when we look at it in July, we might be like, wow, that really changed a lot.
Yeah, I think it's starting to look more and more like, especially with the turmoil going on inside, that the Cardinals are sunk this year.
Which is just amazing to hear.
I'm sure it breaks your heart as a Cubs fan. I still contend it's got something to do with the leadership. This Marmol, the manager, he has not shown me anything.
I've already had my buddy who's a Cardinals fan say, fire him and bring in Yadier Molina.
I mean, why not?
I know. I mean, and he's dead serious. He's not kidding around.
I bet he is.
They built a statue for that guy.
Exactly. Yachty can do no wrong in St. Louis, man. He could get caught red-handed,
yes.
Blood all over him. They're like, Yachty didn't do it, man.
Where do you want a statue?
Yachty did not do it. You know what you're talking about. They are just absolutely. Underwater says Cardinals are a spoiled fan base. I think some people would say that the Braves are a spoiled fan base. I mean, what are we talking about here? We've won 5 divisions in a row.
5 in a row. Geez, time flies.
It drags when you're not winning them, because when we were stinking it up for 3 years, I swear when someone talked about the rebuild, and it really was about 3 years, it felt like a decade. It felt like a decade, man. It was the most depressing part of my sports fanhood, just sitting in there watching it game after game after game. And you could see some sparks, you could see some young talent, but you would just drive you crazy because you're like, oh man, we don't get that feeling anymore. There were games, there were series in the regular season, mind you, that you would go in going, man, I just hope we don't get swept. Just hope we don't get swept.
It's so funny you say that, because before the Cubs World Series run in 15-16, they had 3 years in 12, 13, and 14 where it was just miserable. I mean, you're just hoping they don't let up 10 runs before the 5th inning. I knew exactly. And those 3 years felt like 10 years. And then the 4 seasons in a row we had that were awesome, snapped in a finger. So enjoy it.
What about the Cardinals and Cubs tonight? What Flaherty's on the mound? Wasn't Flaherty the one that shot his mouth off about Contreras? And that's one of the main reasons why Contreras is not behind the plate now.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a lot of, Contreras' first game back last night, we gave him a video ovation at the beginning, and then we actually booed him all game, and he got a couple hits, and he was kind of doing what's up to the crowd. He was going back and forth, and now you got Flaherty on the mound, who let up 10 runs in his last start, 5 the one before. But Tyon over on our side, he hasn't looked all that great either. He's been up and down and a little bit banged up. So I'm looking for a higher scoring Cubs game tonight. It's nice out here. I expect the wind to be blowing out. I think the Cubs will win in a higher scoring game tonight.
What did your lock end up being?
Celtics -7.5.
Oh wow, you're taking the 7. Ooh.
Right. I think I think James Harden's going to go about one of those games where it's 5 for 22 shooting, and usually when he don't show up, that team cannot even come close to winning.
When Smart hit the jumper at the buzzer,
I thought it was good because my TV was on mute.
I wasn't looking at the clock. I was like, oh my God, we won. I'm about to text my buddy, and I was like, wait a minute, what happened? Right. There's a clock you have to pay attention to.
My buddy and I were at
the replay. I'm like, this isn't even close. I don't know why they're showing the replay.
My buddy went.
The problem is, I think Smart was in the same position. He wasn't looking at the clock either. He's skirk-a-dirk-a-dirk-a-dirk.
My buddy and I were at a local bar, and we saw that, and we screamed because we thought it was good. And then they did the replay, and we're like, wow, I hope nobody heard us, because that was
I was like, I really was not even looking at the clock. For whatever reason, when they brought it across half court, in my head, I was wondering how much time was left and how much time they had. I was like, oh, the time expires. The shot went off. That's awesome. Oh, wait a minute. Ball was still in his hand. Never mind. This sucks. Change the channel. What is your walk-off for the day?
My walk-off is, if you're not tuning into Braves country, check out the NBA, which we don't say often, but in 2-2 series, these are pivotal game 5s tonight. And I truly think I think both home teams will get it, but who knows? Stay tuned.
Make sure to tune in for the last 2 minutes of each. Yes. Other than that, that's a bunch of lead up to nothing.
Yeah, fourth quarter under 2.
NBA is a bunch of nothing until the last 2 minutes. And even then, you're sitting through timeouts. My walk-off is Braves country, pitch-by-pitch, play-by-play, 7:20. First pitch, game number 1 of a 2-game set against Boston, home of the Braves, where the Braves originally came from. So the Boston Braves, Boston Red Sox, or as they used to be called back then, the Pilgrims versus the Boston Braves.
Ooh.
And we're Bean Eaters versus the Pilgrims at one point. All right. we're going to go ahead and get out of here. Keep it locked in here on the key. We're going to keep the feed up here on YouTube, Braves Country HD, and be back just before first pitch. We will see you mañana here on 99.1 FM. It's Wednesday. It's hump day tomorrow, which means Teamus. We'll see you tomorrow.
Goodbye, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. We're back tomorrow with another show. Well, unless we're fired, we'll talk to you then. Goodbye, sweetheart. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Guys and gals, it's time to go. We'll see you on the next show.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Thanks for listening to Braves Country with Mac Magee and the Armchair Quarterbacks on 99.1 FM WQEE, The Key in Noonan, Georgia, and simulcasting on youtube.com/@Braves Country. Braves Country comes your way weekdays, 3 p.m. Eastern to 5 p.m. Eastern. Please follow, like, and subscribe today. Armchair Quarterback Radio, your first choice for Southern sports.
Something of the 5th of September. Something of the 5th of September. She said a lot that I can't remember. Something of the 5th. Can I get another cigarette, please? Can I get another cigarette, please? Yeah, I know I live to regret it. Just give me another cigarette, please.
You're listening to WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key in Noonan, Georgia.